Ladies and gentlemen, hello, Charlie Abruzzo, Global Yacht Exchange, the new yacht brokers MLS. Anyway, that is not why we're here today. We are here for a educational seminar on boat batteries. What could be more important than your batteries being charged 50 miles offshore? You hit the starter button, everyone's nightmare is to hear click click and the engines don't start. So here we go. The technology has changed so radically in the past several years. It was part of my motivation for doing this. For many, many years, everyone used a flooded battery. There was nothing wrong with it. It lasted 100 years. Not that the battery lasted 100 years, but that technology is 100 years old. A flooded battery, quite simply, is lead plates with sulfuric acid, and that creates DC electricity. Again, for many, many years it worked, and it worked well. But today, the technology has completely surpassed it. So there's several types. We can talk about a gel-type battery, which is very similar to a flooded battery. The only difference is you don't have to check the fluid levels. On a flooded battery, you should really check your fluids every couple of weeks and top off the battery with distilled water. With a gel-type battery, there is none of that. So that's really the only two differences, except that a gel-type battery will withstand vibration a little better than flooded. And I said a little. Vibration will destroy any battery. So next up is AGM. And the new AGM batteries are absolutely worth the money. And I use this stupid example. Every Harley Davidson in the world has a pigtail sticking out from under the seat. If you let that bike sit for 3 weeks, it will not start without a battery tender. I put an AGM battery in my bike and it will start after 3 months. So you need to start looking at things to some degree. You believe what you see for yourself, not so much marketing hype. So the AGM batteries, they started out calling them A-partition glass mat, which was really stupid. It didn't make sense. And now the acronym stands for something else. But they're still glass mat. They're partitioned. Who cares about the technology? I don't want to get deep into that. All you need to know is they're more expensive, they weigh more, and they are 10 times better than a flooded battery. The wild card is the charging is radically different. You need to make sure your battery charger is the type to charge an AGM battery. You cannot hit an AGM battery with a lot of current. The charger will trip off. Even an old charger has safety features in there to trip off. And we're going to come back to safety features because some of them infuriate me. I'll give you a short version. Most battery chargers on boats, could be a $5 million boat, if your battery's really dead, the charger goes offline. And the idea is they don't want too much current flowing, which makes sense, but at the same token, you're offshore, your generator's running, the battery charger's on, but the battery charger is offline because your batteries are really dead. I want to meet the asshole that came up with that. Anyway, sorry, not supposed to curse. The AGM batteries, it's just worth the extra money. Next up is something called LiFePO, which is lithium phosphate, and they are remarkable. They weigh half of what the other batteries weigh, and you can take that battery all the way down without destroying it. It will shorten the lifespan, but it won't destroy it. Every other battery, if you take it all the way down, you're buying a new one. Even your screw gun at home, if you take that battery all the way down, you're buying a new battery. So, a little side note, try not to bring your batteries down all the way. Not cool. So, the LiFePO, they are really extraordinary. Not everybody needs that, but I personally use AGMs across the board. I find it's a good balance between price point, performance, what it's doing. So that's just my personal twist. If you have the extra money, don't care, buy the LiFePOs. So let's talk about sizes real quick, because it gets confusing very fast. There's a group 24, there's a group 27, there's a group 29, there's a group 31. And the cardinal rule is the higher the group, the bigger the battery, the more it will last, and each one has what's called the CCA rating. It stands for cold cranking amps, and what it means is how long can you spin the starter before you drain the battery. So a group 31 battery with 1,000 CCAs will spin the starter a hell of a lot longer than a Group 24 that only has 500 CCAs. So, and there's also something called AH, which stands for amp hours. The LifePo batteries don't even publish a CCA spec. They only publish amp hours. Short version again, amp hours is how long can you run this battery and not kill it. That's amp hours. So, a few things I want to get into, because I see this every day, is configuration. So, the configuration of your boat battery should be like this. Each engine should have its own starting battery, isolated. You should have a house battery that's isolated. The house battery runs all your electronics, your lights, and all the accessories on the boat should come off the house battery. The engine starting batteries should be on their own circuit, and the idea is if you're somewhere, you drop your anchor, you're hanging out all day with your family, and you got stuff on, lights are running, and electronics maybe, and all kinds of stuff is on, well, you can bring that house battery down and still start your engines so long as they're isolated. That's what the battery switches are for. Make sure your start engines are not being drained when you're out there enjoying yourself. Pretty simple stuff, but a lot of people screw it up. There's a couple of little weird twists, okay? Every boat I've ever seen in my life, the generator battery only gets charged from the generator running. So you could have your onboard shore power on and the battery charger on, that generator battery is not getting charged. The only thing that charges it is the generator running. So get in the habit, start it up, run it for a half hour, and you'll be fine, especially if you're going offshore. I would start the engine before I undid my dock lines. I always do. And speaking of running generators, they are designed to run substantially longer than propulsion engines. I've seen many, many generators with 20,000 hours on them and they were not tired. So they're made to run them. You're not going to hurt it. If you don't have a generator on your boat, do not run the refrigerator off DC, because that, just turn the refrigerator off. The cold food that's in there will stay all day. If you try to run a refrigerator off these little car batteries, I promise you, you're going to be stranded. My own sister didn't listen to me. She called me and said, it boat's dead again. I go, you got the darn refrigerator running off the fucking DC again. Whoops, sorry, there's another bad one. But no one listens. And I'm like, just turn the damn refrigerator off. There's no generator on her boat. So no one listens. Anyway, so then a couple of more weird nuances, okay? When you're underway and your alternators are running, your onboard charger comes offline. And that's okay. They don't want too much current, but just know the onboard charger is not running. But it's okay. The alternators are putting out more than your charger can, and it's charging your batteries. So you're fine. But these weird quirks, like my pet peeve, and I brought it up, but it's worth revisiting, when the batteries are really dead, the onboard charger will not come online. And again, the idea was they didn't want too much electricity going through the system at once, which, okay, that makes sense, but at the same token, come on, you got to come up with something better than that. I mean, I've sat in many, many meetings in my lifetime where, you know, some engineer comes up with something and you're like, are you kidding me? Imagine being in a meeting and the guy raises his hand and says, I got an idea. When the batteries are really dead, let's make it so the charger doesn't work. I mean, how stupid can you be? So I could give you 100 of those. Anyway, I won't. I'll spare you. But, so let's talk about maintenance really fast, okay? If you have, you know, and I hate to say old-fashioned flooded type batteries, every couple of weeks you add the distilled water. Now, almost everybody, myself included, you leave your boat plugged into the shore power, the onboard charger is running all the time, floating. Floating means when it gets to a certain voltage, the charger comes online. Then when it gets up to a certain voltage, the charger goes offline. And it cycles back and forth, and that's what it's supposed to do. Doing that absolutely dissipates the battery acid. So you check it every couple of weeks, especially if you're plugged in, and add distilled water to a flooded battery. And again, the gel type battery, almost the same as flooded, except there's nothing to add. So the only real maintenance is going to be the terminals for all these other styles. So battery terminals, clean and tight. And now I'm going to say something where I'm going to be attacked for this because everybody's going to say that's impossible, but I promise you it's real. If your battery terminals are loose or they're corroded, you can pull electricity out of the battery, but you're not putting it back in. It will not charge. And I'm going to get attacked and say that's impossible, but I've seen it 1,000 times. It's real. Okay, so again, if your battery terminals are loose or corroded, you can pull electricity out, but your charging system is not going to put it back, and you're going to end up stranded. And I promise you, that's real. So my qualifications: I worked for Cummins, traveled all over the world as Cummins troubleshooter. I worked for Detroit Diesel. I worked for Caterpillar. So my sandbox is really engines, but because I've been exposed to these engines for decades, obviously I'm exposed to the charging systems and the batteries to start these things. So the point of me telling you that is I don't want somebody going, who is this guy? What does he know? Why should I listen? And let's talk about that briefly. I see so many people go to these forums, the internet forums, and they're taking this crap for gospel. So there are some very, qualified people on these forums. There's also like a 12-year-old kid. And I see people take this information for gospel, and I'm like, it could be a 12-year-old kid on the other side of the keyboard, and you're arguing with me. It's just ridiculous. But just, consider the source, okay? And the source can be a phenomenal place to go learn. I mean, there is so much information on the internet. Just be smart about where you're getting your information. I mean, I didn't go into deep detail about the technology of these batteries on purpose. There was no value in it, but you can go very deep. If you start, going on the internet and you really want to learn, there's a lot there. Just, consider the source. Stay away from 12-year-old kids. If possible. So, back to the maintenance really quick. A few do's and don'ts, okay? So make sure your terminals are clean and tight. And you're talking 30, 40 seconds, okay? And you don't do it every day, but once in a while, get down there in the bilge and check your connections. Try not to bring your batteries all the way down, and be very cognizant of your battery switches. Which batteries are you draining when you're on the anchor, just so you don't get stranded. So this is the first of many, and I'm excited to share this stuff with you. And I have to give a 10-second plug. Global Yacht Exchange, the new Yacht Brokers MLS. Thank you.